Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Don't forget Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. You can go to andymorehonda.com and get more to your door. Also, the Endeavor Hospitality restaurants in and around the Bloomington area, including great places like BB's, where I will be tomorrow doing the show. And Kevin wishes he was here to pick up some awesome steaks from there. But welcome aboard, K-Bro, with us, stopping by for today as well. Hope you're doing well. We are, because we got K-Bro here.
Do they have any breakfast sandwiches at BB's and stuff, or do they
Breakfast sandwiches? What are you kidding me? Custom made.
How about that? Yeah, you can get a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich.
Oh, see, obviously Kevin has missed the it's real good stuff there. They have at BB's. Good stuff.
Farm fresh eggs. They probably get them from Ellettsville or something. Who knows?
Exactly. They had the chickens are out back.
Okay. That sounds good.
Absolutely. Lots to get to on the program today. Expecting Matt Taylor to stop by, of course, from the Colts, wondering what they're doing with the quarterback, wondering what Indiana's doing with the quarterback. Kyler, Staley should be along today as well. We'll talk about some recruiting action. Jeff Schroeder from Golf Club Eagle Point. We'll talk about the Masters as that gets underway today as well. I see Kevin's not wearing his white bib overalls, so you're not caddying for anyone this year.
No, not at all. But, speaking about the Colts and the quarterback position, the Colts plane was again spotted in Gainesville yesterday, parked in the tarmac there. So a lot of people are wondering about Anthony Richardson, who is third overall. If they're down here, perhaps talking with them a little bit, talking to coaches, doing their due diligence. So very interesting that this is the second time in the last 2 months that the Colts plane has been down here. So a lot of speculation amping up about Anthony Richardson's possible destination. And I've had a few radio stations from Charlotte reach out to me as well, although a lot of rumblings are that CJ Stroud is going to be the first pick there. So
it's interesting. If you're wanting to be, J Dow talking about Khalil Ware, we're going to talk about him as he is one of the many portal transfers that have scheduled a visit, are visiting Indiana. We'll be talking about that as well. If you're trying to be covert, obviously the Colts are not trying to be covert. You don't fly a big billboard and let it sit on an airport tarmac as a gigantic commercial if you're trying to be covert. So they're not trying to hide anything.
No, not at all. And I think it's, the Colts were pretty much at the Swamp. I think almost every game their scouts were there. And so I think they're really enamored with him. I think they really like what he can bring to the table from certainly an athleticism standpoint, from an arm strength standpoint. I mean, the big question is experience. And I thought he got better last year as the season went on in terms of, 12 games. But there were moments where he was a little shaky in terms of, running the offense and the accuracy. Those are the big questions. If I were an NFL team, I would just not throw him in the fire. I would, have a veteran quarterback, let him groom, let him sit for the year. I mean, worked for Patrick Mahomes pretty well. So, I'm not comparing Richardson to Patrick Mahomes, but I think anytime you bring in a first-round draft pick like that, it's best to at least give him some time and some familiarity there. My Jets have made that mistake too many times where they throw in Sam Darnold his first game, Zach Wilson's first game, and pretty much ruined both of them.
The Jets. Yeah. I was just singing underneath. You can keep talking. I was just giving you the background music.
Well, I was throwing over to you there, Jim, in terms of your thoughts about NFL quarterbacks and what do you think they need to do in terms?
Well, they don't. The Colts don't have that luxury though of having a guy that they can send out there, that they can play, expect to win games, and tutor this kid along the way. I mean, if they do that, they're looking at another.
Well, you can get a veteran. I mean, and you have Gardner Minshew. I mean, Minshew's not, Minshew started some games. I mean, you can let him start the first half of the season, and he's won some games in Jacksonville. He's been a capable backup in Philadelphia, and he looks like Uncle Rico too. So
there's always that. There's always that. Lots of news on recruiting for Indiana, of course. Everybody wants to know who's doing what, going where. Of course, the portal is as active as it's ever been. Indiana, a lot of visits. The Chris Ledlam kid, I think he's already been in. The 6'6" wing. Then you've got now reports of the 7-foot freshman center Khalil Ware from Oregon visiting today. Zoom meetings with Caleb Love that was supposed to have taken place yesterday. Zoom meetings, I believe, with Dalton Connect that was supposed to have already taken place. So it's just a whirlwind of that right now, Kevin. And Indiana still has 4 spots remaining to fill on that roster.
What's the latest on Xavier Johnson getting a 7th year or 8th year? Or how many years is this? Is that going to happen or no? Or what do you think?
I fully expect it to happen. I would be shocked, to be honest with you. Is all the crap that the NCAA has let go by? Are you kidding me? Yeah, that would be ridiculous for him to lose that over a couple of minutes of play. But the NCAA has done stupid things worse than that.
Was Xavier Johnson really, there's some rumblings that he was really fully healthy and he didn't come back to the team because of the fact that Woodson didn't want to disrupt the chemistry and well,
I don't know that, but I would have certainly have agreed with that. They had gotten to a point to where, we were all talking about that. I'm like, how are you going to manage that at the end of the season? And I don't know. It probably couldn't have actually hurt that team, to be honest with you, as they needed athletes. I think that was, shown mostly in more so in that Miami game than ever. But so I don't know if it would have actually hurt them or helped them. We won't know. We'll never find out. But and I don't know that we'll ever hear the answer to that question. Not that it matters. I mean, I think it was a smart decision for him not to push it to come back. I mean, you got one shot at it, and if you go out there and then you get hurt again, now you're screwed.
So Caleb Love, is he a point? Is he a combo, or what would you say?
I think he's. I think he's known as a point guard.
Okay.
But
so if he and Xavier Johnson come back, you're back in the same boat as you were with Xavier and Hood Schifino in terms of who's the point guard, who gets the ball, how's that chemistry going to work? I mean, that would be interesting if Indiana was to get Caleb Love. I mean, do they just maybe show Xavier Johnson the door and say, hey, look, we don't want, because,
No, I think they need a guard. You can't have enough guards, number one, and Indiana certainly doesn't have enough. You've got Trey Galloway there at the number 2, but that's not the kind of player they need to win at the highest level. I'll say that. Rick Bozich said it the other day, and I agree with it. If you want to be elite, you have to have elite players. And that doesn't mean they have to have been a 5-star recruit. Guys become elite players. Guys that, Kevin, we see it all the time. I keep using the same example of Peyton Sparks coming to Indiana. Well, obviously he wasn't good enough to be recruited by Indiana 2 years ago, but things have changed. Wow, look how things have changed. So things change. The players, some players progress quicker than other players. Some players really pick up, some don't. Jordan Geronimo kind of never really progress. You just small increments. So it's the portal is what it is, but it's good. People cannot like it, but let me tell you, I don't even care who your team is. There is no way the portal has not helped your team in some way. Whomever your team is, every team in the Final Four was helped in some way by the portal, I believe. UConn, even UConn, I'd have to go back and make sure. I'm almost positive they had at least one transfer on that team, if not a couple.
Yeah, like Calcaterra from San Diego. I think it's interesting that though I do think a couple of things though, the 2 C's when it comes to transfers. You gotta have the right culture, right? You gotta have guys that are gonna buy in and allow these kids to come in and not have any kind of jealousy about it or so forth. And 2 is the chemistry. You have to develop, and that's where the coaching comes in, because you're so many teams are turning over their rosters now. I think it makes coaching that much more important in terms of, hey, you don't have a lot of time to really work with these kids in the season and to get them to gel and to play together. I mean, we even see that in the NBA, right? Where LeBron James, it took him time, with those, new players from the Heat, even though they built that super team and so forth. It's still a continuity game. So you got to give a guy like, Dan Hurley a lot of credit, Jim Larinaga a lot of credit in terms of you bring in these transfers, but you got to coach them up too, and you got to get them, playing well, playing together, and staying the course during a course of a season. That's not easy.
Philip pointing out UConn's point guard, a transfer from Eastern Carolina, and that's another example. Okay, this kid went to East Carolina, not exactly a bastion of college basketball, success over the last 30 years, but now he just won a national championship. So he went from only being able to get recruited by Eastern Carolina, who most of you have never even heard of, even though you'll pretend that you have because it says Eastern and Carolina in it. But again, that's the point. I kind of think it's going to make college basketball amazing. Some people are on the fence that this past year's tournament, Kevin, was an anomaly, that it won't be like that. And I'm not saying it's going to be like that all the time, but there's no way you're taking all that out. There's just no way, because no one knows truly how good these teams are. It looks like right up until the time the tournament starts, because they're still transforming into some of these to getting better and better. So I think it's just going to be a fun NCAA tournament from now on.
Yeah, and you're not seeing, I guess, with the Blue Bloods, you're not seeing them just get the best high school talent and then ride with it. I mean, it's a transformation, but what will be interesting moving forward is the waiver process and seeing, if the NCAA clamps down on the waivers and makes those waivers harder to get. That's another issue too. Pat Forty has written about that. Some other writers have written about it now, where, getting that waiver and sitting out is going to be, not sitting out. It's going to be a lot harder to do that. And if that's the case, does that cut down the available pool in the transfer portal to where it is now and currently, where you've got what is it this year? It's probably over 1,000. It's been over 1,000 the last couple of years.
And a lot of people say, well, it hurts the high schools. I disagree. You know what? I think it gives as many or more of them an opportunity. They can go off and develop themselves, and they have the opportunity. You can see it's a buyer's market, man, or it's a player's market. Once you get, if you have the wares, you'll have the takers. And I think it, at the same time, where it may, some people say it works against them, I also say it works for them. It gives them the opportunity to go out and just develop and come from a team like Eastern Carolina and go to a team like UConn and win a national championship.
Yeah, and I think what teams are doing too is they're building older rosters also. They're building rosters of guys, and with the grad transfers of juniors and seniors, and there still is something to be said for a 22 or 23-year-old player. I mean, I've talked to a lot of players about even players in Florida. When you come in as freshmen and you're not as physically developed as an 18, 19-year-old as you are as a 21, 22-year-old. And that's why we're seeing not only teams with transfers, but veteran teams, older teams are the teams that are winning, and they're just more physically developed, more skill-wise developed, and that's playing really well right now in the tournament.
A great point here, right here by Nigel. The portal reveals how inexact high school player ratings and recruiting is.
Bingo.
It absolutely does that. And that is something we will love to talk about later. As point, Nigel. Thank you so much. And we got to take a break.
I refer to it as recruiting silliness. I've recruited it for that for the years.
It's a great point.
It's a dog and pony show. But you guys buy it. You guys, you know what I mean. You guys subscribe to websites for it. I don't get it
because you know what? They want it. No matter what, the people want it. Even if it's not true, or if it turns out not to be true, they got to have it. If you would,
I guess
people would rather have stuff that turns out not to come to reality than to have nothing.
I call it selling hope. That's what a lot of these.
There you go. Selling hope. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. We're gonna keep hope alive and take a break. Got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio with our good buddy K-Bro here on Indiana Sports Beat. Back with it right after this on the beginning of Masters Day.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the I'll do my great Brent Musburger. You're looking live at Augusta Golf Course in Augusta, Georgia.
I'm sorry that I indirectly made fun of your rival site there, but that's always been my rant about.
No,
I remember back in 2000.
I'm saying the same thing. It's
I remember back in 2002 when I was in Naples, I wrote a column about these recruiting sites, and I'm like, do yourself a favor, go go take a walk on the beach, fly a kite somewhere, have a good time instead of sitting in front of your computer and reading these recruiting.
It's like,
and then I pointed out, I think back then how like Notre Dame and Texas always had the best classes every year, and they were like two mediocre teams.
Yeah, it does not matter.
Yeah,
it matters. I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but it matters so much less than what people think. Man, there's so much that goes on with it. Whether it's the coaching, the chemistry.
Yeah.
The growth, there's so much that has to happen, man.
It probably matters a little more in football because you have so many you have to build so much depth. But in basketball, I think, where you only have to get a few guys to the transfer portal is really kind of taken, the transfer portal is starting to impact football, but not in the same way as it does basketball.
Well, Indiana needs to hit home runs.
Yeah.
Home runs, or they're going to be a mediocre team next year.
Look, Woody's getting the tournament. There's nothing wrong with that. 2 years.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying they have got to replace these players. They have 4 holes that have to be filled.
No question. No, they have big time holes.
You have to have shooters. He does not have shooters on this team at the moment. CJ Gunn.
Hey, so George, my old boss George told me, is it true that Miller Kopp didn't do interviews and that he would only do interviews if he was paid for interviews? Somebody told me that.
I will say this. I was doing the show at BB's one day, and he was in there while I was doing the show. And I said, hey, man, can you come over here for a second? He wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I bumped into him in an NIL event once. I tried to do a one-on-one with him, and he was like very surly with me, and I didn't even do the story because I'm like, screw this. I'm not going to promote his event if he's,
Yeah.
All right, here we go, guys.
Questions. What?
No, so here we go.
And will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hobbs' Brewing, Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Thursday, April 6th. K-Bro joining us on this fine Thursday. Now we welcome in Mattress Matt Taylor. No, maybe that's the wrong person, isn't it? I was thinking of Mattress Mac. Daggone it.
Yeah.
I had it wrong there.
That was weird. I didn't know how to respond to that. I didn't know if you were are you trying to slander me? What are we doing here?
No. I wish you were Mattress Matt and had the money that Mattress Mac has thrown around, because I'd be up there washing your cars and whatever else you need. Man, you obviously know who Mattress Mac is, right?
I don't know. Sorry, I hate to be that guy, but I'm drawing a blank there.
Oh wow, okay. Well, Mattress Mac, well known. He's a big Houston Astros fan down in Houston, businessman down there. But he bets millions of dollars. Okay, bro. I don't know how many bets he's made that were big, high-profile bets where he's not trying to do it to get attention, but he makes some big time bets. But he paid for allegedly, and I'll confirm this tomorrow when Dusty comes on. But I think that he paid for the flights and all of the accommodations for the FAU families at the Final Four this year. Which was a very, very cool thing to do. But Mattress Mac is a big better, man. He makes big bets. Okay, bro, fill him in.
I was going to say, Jim, who would you recommend for him for the Masters this weekend?
Oh, for Mattress Mac? Oh,
yeah,
man.
What would you tell him?
Man, that's hard. That's picking one dude. I don't know. John Rahm, if I pick one out of a hat. I mean, who?
Jordan Spieth?
Okay. Sure. Matt Taylor. You can say Matt Taylor. I mean, I'm going to say sure. I don't. That's just that's nothing I can pick to win there, Matthew. How are things going with you?
Things are going well. We are 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, which is crazy. It's going to be here. It's going to be on top of us. I think it already is in some regards, and so it's good there. Last week was able to get away a little bit for spring break with the kids, so that was enjoyable. So life's pretty good. What's going on with you guys?
Oh, not much. We were just talking about the Colts playing, as a matter of fact. Have you haven't been taking any joy rides in that thing around to Gainesville, Florida, or any place like that, have you?
No, they did not bring me along for that trip. But yeah, it's making its rounds. You know, the Colts are having private workouts with obviously all the top high profile QBs, the prospects, and then maybe, some guys that you didn't think about, which is, you have to take that into consideration as well. What do they do in rounds 2, rounds 3? Maybe they go that route. Who knows? I mean, I think Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy have changed the conventional wisdom a little bit on where you have to get these quarterbacks or where you can get these quarterbacks and have guys possibly turn into franchise signal callers. So everything's still on the table right now. But obviously, yeah, this week was a really big week working out guys with private workouts at USC and, like you said, going to Gainesville, going to Utah to work out some guys. So I think, 2 weeks before the draft, it's normally pretty quiet. Obviously, that was not the case this year for the Colts, considering, where they're picking and the high-profile nature of the QBs in the NFL.
Matt, do you think there's a chance they trade the pick or no? Or there's been some rumblings about Lamar Jackson or go after a veteran quarterback, or what do you think?
Rumblings. I think Jim Irsay put that to bed with I will not pay a guaranteed contract.
I mean, obviously just he's not a fan of paying guaranteed contracts, just doesn't think that's good for the overall health of the game.
Strategy.
I don't know. I think everything's just sort of on the table right now, considering where the Colts are at, because like I said, I think Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy have shown that you can get guys at different levels of the draft. So I think at this point, the Colts should have a pretty good idea of who these guys are as football players. So I think this week it's just continuing to get to know them as people and maybe more importantly as leaders on the field in the huddle. I mean, the Colts are still kind of doing that due diligence to find, the quarterback that best fits their team. Sort of, the quarterback that has the best set of intangibles that you just can't really find out until you're around that guy and doing a lot of digging on that player. I mean, the Colts would be fine to get any of these quarterbacks from an athletic standpoint, and they'd probably be okay, win some games in the near future, but they want the one that has the most intangibles about him. I think it was Shane Steichen last week at the owners' meetings just talked about, they have to have that it factor, the love of the game, studying the game, know exactly how it's supposed to look. I think that's a really big part of it. So it's funny too. I mean, also something else to consider, I looked it up. There's been 14 quarterbacks taken in the top 10 in the last 6 drafts. Okay. So 14 quarterbacks in the top 10 since 2017. 5 of those guys really haven't done anything, right? You got the Mitch Trubisky's and the Baker Mayfields, the Sam Darnolds, the Josh Rosens, and the Zach Wilson. Those guys, I wouldn't say they have been total busts, all of them across the board, but they're in the bucket of just haven't been able to reach expectations. And then you got an unknown guy like Trey Lance. He's kind of that big X factor because of just hasn't had a lot of time on the field, has had some injuries, things like that. And then you got the home runs. You've got Mahomes and Josh Allen and Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. So bottom line is there's really no perfect method to picking quarterbacks. Everyone would have a really good quarterback if it was really easy, to identify how a guy is going to translate and if he's going to be able to adapt and produce in the situation that we draft him into. So we'll find out soon enough the Colts evaluation on these quarterbacks in about 3 weeks. But I think, again, some of these quarterbacks that have been taken on day 2, day 3 of the draft have thrown a wrinkle into how teams view the urgency of getting rookie quarterbacks to come in and play, a significant role pretty soon on their rookie contracts.
We have seen, especially here in the last few years, it has been the reverse. We've talked about that here on the show that, back in the day, a quarterback would get drafted. At the minimum, he's going to spend 3 years tutoring it didn't even matter behind whom to get his legs set. Now it's the opposite, man. They come up and they're making instant impacts, but there's only a few of those guys per year that are available. And that's the difference in finding the right ones. Obviously, some at the top stand out, but the key is to finding those ones that don't stick out as much, right. Obviously. And if you could rub your hand over that crystal ball, that would be a very profitable endeavor.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just all situational. I mean, again, I think if you go back to we were talking about this earlier in the week, like if Sam Darnold gets drafted by the Colts, hypothetically, just if you're living in a vacuum, if Sam Darnold is drafted by the Colts instead of the Jets, how do we look at Sam Darnold 4 years later, 5 years later, right? I mean, if Josh Rosen doesn't go to the Cardinals, he's drafted by the Patriots and he gets, all that work, all that hands-on work by Bill Belichick. Is Josh Rosen now a guy that is leading the Patriots to 11-6 seasons? I mean, and you can go in reverse. Like if Josh Allen isn't drafted by the Bills, is he Josh Allen? If Mahomes goes to, just pick a team. I mean, if he goes to the Jaguars, is he Patrick Mahomes? I mean, I don't know the answer to these things, but I think, Patrick Mahomes has definitely benefited from Andy Reid. I'm not saying Andy Reid has made him who he is, but you get what I'm saying. Like you pair really good quarterbacks with really, really good coaches on really good teams with really good cultures, they're going to have a higher degree of success in all probability. So that's what the Colts are trying to figure out is who is the right quarterback for us right here, right now, within the moment where our franchise is with a new head coach, with a new offense, sort of hitting the reset button on the franchise with a new era, things like that. They're trying to find the guy that has all of the physical tools plus the right mental makeup to come in and have success with where the Colts are at right now in terms of their franchise trajectory.
Matt, and I've made this point earlier, but I'm a big believer, fan in one of the reasons why Mahomes had success. And I'm not saying, because I know Peyton Manning started right away, Trevor Lawrence did, but, Patrick Mahomes had, 8 or 9 games his first year. And I'm thinking, say, if the Colts draft a guy like Anthony Richardson, I think the worst thing, having covered him for a year now, the worst thing to do would be to throw him in right away. I think he's a guy that needs time to develop, a little bit of time to grow in an NFL system and practice. Do you think Minshew is a good safety net in that regard? Or if the Colts draft a rookie, do you think that they'll throw him in the fire right away? Or what are your impressions of that?
Yeah, I think that signing of Gardner Minshew, a lot of that was probably made with what you just described. I mean, that's a guy in Gardner Minshew that can play. He's had success. He's won games. He's been a backup. He's been a starter. And he has obviously a lot of familiarity the last 2 years with Shane Steichen being the backup quarterback to Jalen Hurts. So he understands the terminology and sort of the nuts and bolts of the Shane Steichen system offensively. Now they're going to have to tweak it and tailor it to whether it's Minshew at quarterback and the players the Colts have skill-wise around him to make it work, to best put the team and the offense in the most favorable positions. But yeah, I mean, I think worst case scenario is that rookie quarterback. I mean, regardless of how all of this plays out, guys, I mean, the Colts are going to draft a rookie quarterback. There's no doubt about that. It's just, to what degree or to what level in the draft. But there's going to be a rookie quarterback in here. And so the question is that guy going to play? How many first-team reps is he going to get in the spring? Will that translate into first-team reps in training camp and then be a threat to start right away? We don't know, but worst case scenario is Gardner Minshew can play, can compete, and it should be able to, keep this team in some games next year and to be able to win some football games if you need him to play and be the starter, depending on how the rookie quarterback transition and that progression goes. So I think a lot of that signing for Gardner Minshew was made for him to come in and sort of bridge the gap for as long as that needs to take place because of his familiarity with Shane Steichen the last 2 years with the Eagles.
How long do you think the Colts will take to kind of decide what they're going to do? I know there's still an opportunity to move up one spot, which I know some people would say, well, that's stupid, but really not, because then you can get into another situation where a Carolina Panthers rather sneaks in and grabs a slot. So there's that to consider as well.
Yeah, I think they're going to sort of take their time on that. I mean, I think if you're talking about the leverage that the Cardinals might have, I think the highest value that pick is going to have is going to be on draft night, actually. And it might just sort of I think it will impact the value of that pick will be impacted by what the Panthers do and what the Texans do. Like if the top 2 quarterbacks of the draft go 1-2, like we think it's going to be the case with Young and Stroud off the board right away, then obviously, boom, there's a ton of leverage there with the Cardinals. And I think if the Colts were to be convicted enough to go up one spot from 4 to 3, it would be because they are convicted in the intangibles that I've been talking about. That's the only reason why the Colts, I think, would move up one spot. And they would still have to give up a lot. I mean, like you said, it sounds crazy moving up one spot. They would still have to give up probably, a second-round pick next year, a fifth-round pick this year, maybe another late-round pick this year to move up. And that's high draft capital, for a team that is retooling to a degree. But in order to go up one spot, the Colts would have to just love the character of one quarterback over the others, in my opinion. Like they might have to just say to themselves, we can't live without this guy. We can't take the chance of someone like the Raiders leapfrogging us and going from wherever they're at, 8 or 9 to number 3 to potentially get the quarterback that we just love in terms of the mental makeup and the character and the intangibles of what he's going to bring to our huddle in our locker room. We can't run the risk of not getting that guy. I think that would be the only situation where the Colts would go from 4 to 3, because I think that no matter if that separation didn't exist, I still think the Colts would be comfortable sitting at 4, getting whoever is available to them and being comfortable and being able to make it work because of Shane Steichen's experience in the NFL, working with a variety of different quarterbacks that have a variety of skill sets to play that position. So we'll see how it all plays out, but certainly everything's on the table right now, and we still got 3 weeks to go, which feels close, but also at the same time feels like an eternity away, considering how long we've been talking about this stuff.
But I'm sure at times squeezing down on everyone there, having to make the decisions they need to make and get all the things they need to get done made. What's up next for you, man?
Just draft stuff, and continuing to churn out some content. Colts.com and Colts Audio Network. That's anywhere you can download your podcast. Check us out. We're putting it out every week, so enjoy the ride with us if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Go along and make sure you follow along with Matt at Colts.com and follow them as they rebuild into the upcoming season. Can't thank you enough, brother.
All right, guys. Be good.
Thank you.
Matt Taylor joining us from the Indianapolis Colts. Much more coming up here as K-Bro's with us. We've got more to talk about. Basketball recruiting, which is going nuts. Kyler Staley is joining us a little later. Masters talk as well. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's
Hey, bro, did you ever talk to Dustin, Judy?
Yeah. I do the Blue Ribbon magazine with him every year.
You remember the Blue Ribbon Cookbook when you were a kid?
Blue Ribbon Cookbook?
Yeah, I'm sure your mom had one.
Who knows?
Who knows, mate?
Yeah, I'm hot. It's getting a little humid. Holy smokes.
You can enjoy that breakfast sandwich from BB tomorrow, huh?
Oh, yeah. Their bacon is what I love the most.
Is it like maple, honey maple?
Just big, thick cut, but you don't know what you're missing now.
The thickness is the key to the bacon, you know?
I agree.
What are the Reds doing, by the way?
Well, that's a good question. They were 3-2 before last night.
Hunter Green.
Here come the Mets. Here come the Mets.
Tell you what, kudos to Cincinnati's traffic protocol, because with multiple events going on downtown when I was there the other night, including the Reds, they had traffic. They have it down to a science the way they take care of that.
It's good.
They're still in the middle, 3-2, so they must not have played last night. The Mets,
So,
3-4.
3-4. We got sweat Brewers, man. It's rough.
Where the Brewers are 5-1, sitting alone at the top of the Central.
Still a long season, long way to go.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
See that Logan Duncombe ended up.
Say it again.
Logan Duncombe ended up at
Xavier.
Xavier,
You're
yeah.
cutting out, Kevin.
Yeah.
now.
You're cutting it.
Yeah, well, I think we got you back.
Yeah. Logan Xavier.
Boy,
All right,
you're,
here we go,
yeah,
guys.
Leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday, April 6th. The Masters get started today. Transfer portal still going crazy, of course. Keeping eyes on that as Indiana has 7-foot freshman center Khalil Ware making a visit. Also, Chris Ludlam from Harvard making a visit. They've had Zoom meetings. There will be more meetings. And this, I wonder if this is tougher to recruit, Kevin, the portal, than a freshman. I mean, you're doing kind of the same thing, but it's a different, everything's different. You're at a different juncture of your career. They've seen more of what you could do. You're probably, your value is much higher.
Well, the word is, I mean, a lot of what I hear is guaranteed minutes. Like, are you going to get the opportunity? And that's what a lot of players are asking for now, along with NIL. Obviously, they want to know the NIL opportunities. And they want to know, do you have a spot where I can get a lot of playing time? Because, a lot of these people, leave, or some of these people, with the exception of, some of the superstars like Caleb Love, but there are a lot of people that leave due to playing time. And they want to go someplace where they know they're going to play. So I think that those are the two main selling points for coaches is NIL and playing time. And a lot of coaches will say, well, we'll give you an opportunity to compete for the job, but we won't guarantee anything. But I don't know. I've just heard stories behind the scenes that, coaches do guarantee playing time to guys. So,
which would be for a coach like Tom Izzo, or when you say guarantee, they're going, and I know what you mean, but are they guaranteeing X number of minutes, do you think?
I've heard stories. I've heard stories where they've guaranteed X number of minutes, but, it's funny though, because if your play decreases, then what do? Are you stuck? You know what I mean? Or do you, as a coach, do you go back on that promise? And if you do, then does the word go around that, hey, look, this is not a guy that lives up to his word in the transfer portal? I mean, that can happen too. So it's just a very tricky balance, I think, in terms of that. But as far as if you're a coach and you do guarantee minutes, I think you're setting yourself up for a tough road down the road if the player doesn't perform, and then you have to make changes and so forth. And you're labeled as, for lack of a better term, a liar. Like you didn't live up to your, word. So, it's really fascinating. It's very interesting, but I do think that the playing time issue is something that a lot of, players are looking for, and the NIL opportunities that come with it.
And I understand that, but to be able to guarantee, to guarantee that you'll play, I can see that. That would be pretty easy to do, because you're going to need, most programs need 8 guys. I mean, it's hard if you're running less than 8 guys. I don't know how the hell you're doing it. A, and B, 8 is still, late. 8 is a late season, real tight rotation probably. So up to 9 guys you're actively going to be using. And Indiana has got 4 spots yet to fill. So playing time will not be a problem in Indiana.
No question. And I think, in that regard, I think you're talking about guys that are pretty talented, that are moving up a level that a lot of people want. Someone that has, multiple suitors after him, you're probably guaranteeing playing time. So not like everyone, but I've heard stories of a few that are, high level transfer portal guys, high ranked transfer portal guys that they want guarantees of minutes. from their family and in terms of and from them, so that they can showcase their skills for the next level.
The NIL cooperatives, while they can talk and negotiate directly with returning players, which is just odd to be able to say, but that's not the case for incoming guys, and that's whether it doesn't matter if they're a freshman or a transferring senior. But how do the coaches? They have to broach that, because that's half of the equation, playing time and NIL. If the coaches can't present that, how is it being presented?
Well, what the coaches do is they educate the players on the NIL that's out there. They say, hey, look, we have this collective, we have that collective. What you do with that collective is your own business, but we have these collectives out there where you can, make deals with, and then from there, certainly, I think what happens a lot is, behind the scenes, they talk to other players and they find out what kind of deals they can get. So I think that's how it's supposed to be done anyway. Whether it's done that way at every school, who knows? Is it policed? It really hasn't been policed by the NCAA, but that's the way it's supposed to happen. Is that as a coach, you can just basically say, "Hey, look, we have these collectives in place. They've offered returning players, good deals before. I'm sure if you get with them, you can probably work something out that suits your best interest."
Yeah, and it's just funny. There's no way that stuff's not being. You've got guys like Nigel Pack. Okay, we kind of know what he did because it was kind of made public. And that's the exception, not the rule. Most of these are public, which I don't know that they should be. Number one, and number two, they have to be able to start making these things contractual in some way. It's just you can't just throw everything out there like that. I don't think. I think that the NCAA's, the NCAA allowed this to get to this point to where it blew up, and now don't let that happen again. Get in front of it, get some structure, get whatever it needs to have in place. But if they don't, you're going to have another blow up in 5 years or something, whenever, I don't know what happens, but something to screw it up if they don't get in front of it and guide it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, there have been a lot of missteps, certainly. But, I think, these, like I said, the rise of these collectives were a lot of these schools found a loophole. They found a way to get around a lot of these, what the traditional NIL was supposed to be was like, you come to campus, you be a star, you get a deal. But this created an avenue where it could, where it could seep into recruiting and become kind of a de facto recruiting inducement without it being a direct recruiting inducement. And these are what, like I said, this is where we are now. And you knew it was going to be this way because of the fact that there is so much pressure on these coaches, right? And again, it goes back to the machine, and it goes back to what we talked about, which, you and I think are silly, but there is so much pressure on these coaches to have good recruiting classes, right? So how do you get a good recruiting class? You have to, you're competing against other people. How do you compete against other people for the services? You got to pay.
Absolutely. And we'll see how that, and even with that though, we will not have a clue on what the actual results for these teams are until we are deep into the season next year. I mean, we'll have an idea, I think, but man, watching some of these teams morph and come out of nowhere was awesome, but it also shows how little, little we'll know, really.
Every year there's a St. Peter's, every year there's an FAU, and every year there's, and that's what makes the NCAA tournament great, is the fact that, the one and done nature of it and how basketball, you need fewer players. Football is a lot different, though. Football is a totally different animal. in terms of because you need so many more players and the blue bloods tend to reign and it's very hard. And maybe with the 12-game playoff, it'll be different. But right now with the 14 playoff, it's just, you're seeing, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. You're seeing the same old teams kind of dominate Ohio State in the Big Ten, but they can't get over the hump and win the whole thing. And Michigan's gotten into the fray the last couple of years. But I think 2024 is going to be fascinating because that's when college football is really going to change, and you're going to have the 12-team playoff, and you're going to have some of the super conferences in place where the whole landscape of it, could change, and maybe it'll change for the better, and maybe we'll see, a wilder, more. I don't know what system is better. Is it a better system that teams that dominate college basketball during the regular season can fall in one game, or is it better to have the dominant football teams play only a 2-game playoff? What do you think?
The NCAA basketball tournament has worked well, and that sends you home with one loss. So, well, not during the season though. I get what you're saying. It is tougher, but you know what? Once you make the playoffs, I don't want to see just 2 games. No, I want to see the 12-team playoff. Absolutely, because that's where the upsets happen. And we know there will be upsets once that happens. Not as frequently, not like the NCAA men's basketball or the NCAA basketball tournament, because it's just apples and oranges. But there will be upsets, and it will change the trajectory of a championship.
Yeah, think about if they did the basketball tournament like the football tournament. You would have had Houston, Purdue, UCLA, and who would have been the fourth team? I'm drawing a blank here. Houston, Alabama, Purdue, and UCLA. Yeah. That would have been the 4.
Which I disagreed with. I thought that Purdue was the weakest, softest number 1 seed in the history of the NCAA tournament, I think, this year. But that's not anything about Purdue. I just thought that they were not that strong of a team.
It was proven right. But, that's the thing about Matt Painter the last 2 years. They play great in, November and December. And for some reason, they don't play their best basketball in February and March. It's just kind of, confounding and strange to me why they're, especially for a guy like Matt Painter, why their team doesn't tend to grow when it's the most important. Because to me, it's you build for the postseason. That's what basketball is and what it always has been.
Absolutely. Do you have to hop off now, I think?
Yeah, I gotta run. Gotta get to the day job, but it was fun hopping on with you as always.
Absolutely, it's always our pleasure. Cannot wait to do it again. Looking forward to it, man. What's up next for you?
Yeah, well, just spring football with the Gators, and then off season I'm going to be at the SEC spring meetings in Destin, so that's going to be really nice. Get a little more beach time in, right? And it's actually going to be pretty busy, but there'll be a lot to be discussed there in May, and I'm sure around the same time that you'll be up at the Indy 500.
So the SEC meetings are at Destin, is that right?
Yeah, Destin, Florida.
I wonder if there's any chance of moving the Big Ten meetings to Destin. That would be good. Unfortunately, the Big Ten does not have any ocean-bearing states, bordering states.
Well, you can do it on the Great Lakes. You can do it in,
That's not enough, man. Not enough.
Traverse City or something.
Appreciate you.
Right.
Go out and have yourself a great week and a great weekend, brother.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
You bet. K-Bro, kind enough to join us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio today. We've got more coming up. Kyler Staley joins us next. We're talking some recruiting. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
What's up, guys?
What's shaking?
Not much.
I'm just watching Tiger Woods practice.
Masters didn't start today. Did the Masters start today?
Yeah.
Oh, it did. Okay, well, I know what I'll be watching in the background at work. So
Thursday.
Cool.
Thursday.
Did Antoine Davis end up winning that 3-point contest? I didn't watch that at all. Nobody.
Oh, I did. I did not either.
No idea.
Oh, I thought you went to. I thought you were in Houston. That's why.
I was. I didn't go to that.
Okay.
I was basically at the coach's show all day, and then the day of like the Final Four had the show, and then went to like the Fan Fest, which that is what it is. It's more kid friendly than anything. And then we went over to NRG Stadium and watched pretty much a game and a half. We left at like halftime of the Miami and UConn game. So.
Oh man, it's a busy time in the recruiting world.
It is. Portal.
Yes,
is,
the Reds are. This is a great comment. I love this. Yes, the Reds are still second in the National League wildcard race. That is funny, Andrew. That is pretty funny.
Not being a baseball guy, I still respect the joke out of that. That's pretty funny.
I thought you were a Reds fan.
No, that's Keegan.
Oh, well.
Keegan.
Keegs.
Keegan.
I call him Keegs, my guy.
Big Keegs.
Oh, man.
I bet he could throw a baseball.
Keegan? Oh, he played baseball. D3 baseball.
I know.
I don't know what position he was, though. I never asked him that.
He has to be an infielder. He's built as an infielder.
Yeah.
Third base, first base, pitcher.
He looks like a first baseman.
But is he left-handed?
I don't think so.
If he's not left-handed, he likely did not play first if he's not left-handed.
These are the important questions. We got to get him on here to ask him.
All right, here we go, guys.
Whether you're out on a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. It's April 6th, and we appreciate you being with us. Kyler Staley joining us now as well. We were talking in the break about, John, you'd asked if you thought that Antoine Davis won the 3-point contest, and Susan says yes, he did win that. So thank you, Susan. We appreciate you. Appreciate you listening as well. So that's pretty cool. Man, I mean, that's capping it off, man. Mm-hmm. That's capping it off. Mike Davis was on this a while back, and I didn't tell him that I didn't want his. That would have been. I'm glad, not because I don't want someone to achieve something, but that would have just been. I was a little wonky on that. That's a.
Yeah.
Touchy subject, I guess. Talking about the record, the scoring record, NCAA all-time scoring record held by Pistol Pete Maravich since the early 70s, in which he averaged 44 points a game for over 3 seasons, and the fact that he only was able to play 3 seasons was crazy. But that's that. But yeah, that was not. But he addressed it, and which was way cool. And speaking of basketball, my God, I don't know if it's busier during the tournament or busier right now. It's probably busier during the tournament, but right now it's just you need a scorecard to keep up with, whether it's Chris Ludlam or now you got Kalel Ware. So many names that are popping in, popping out. Dalton Connect, Zoom meetings, Caleb Love. It's a new name, and people are just frothing for information. Which some of these answers aren't going to come as immediate as people would like.
No, I mean, it's going to be, for these guys, most of them, unless you're, Peyton Sparks, who it was a no-brainer for him to go to Indiana. A lot of these guys are going to take their time. This is basically like they're being re-recruited. So they're going to go on visits. They're going to take all the Zoom calls and everything. A lot of these guys have, 20, 30 plus schools, reaching out to them and everything. So they really want to find the best fit. Will they come in and play right away? Where is, the coach's head at? Where do they what are their goals and everything like that? But Indiana, it seems like as of late they've really hit the forwards, the posts pretty hard. You mentioned it with Ware and Ledlam on campus today. Two pretty impressive athletic post players that can do a lot of things, and are coming off really good seasons at both Oregon and Harvard. Guys that were ready, to make a jump and make a transition into a much bigger role, into like where they want to play and things like that. But Indiana is really, and I give credit to Mike Woodson. He's really, zeroed in on what he needs, what this Indiana team needed to improve on. He knew that, the post play was going to need to be replaced. And he knew that, there was going to be wings and guards that he needs to go in, and he needs to get playmakers. And that's what he's doing. I mean, you look at, the guys that, have just recently popped up. We mentioned Ware, Ledlam. The Marshall Center, who's got an extremely hard last name for me to pronounce, Micah something. So I'm not even going to attempt that. But and then you got the VCU transferred Jalen Deloach. I think that's how you pronounce him. I mean,
yeah.
A guy that he's a really interesting person. I know, and he's got a visit set up for I think next week. I think the 14th and 15th of April. He's another guy that is a great rebounder, and that's what when I look at the forwards and the post that Mike Woodson's looked at, I look at he's really zeroing in on rebounding, and he's really zeroing in on guys that can protect the rim and everything. So Indiana's got a lot of options. They're still waiting for Xavier Johnson to see where his waiver is going to be at. I would expect the NCAA to kind of make a decision on that sooner than later. But Mike Woodson, the staff, they're really hitting the portal hard, and that's what you wanted to see out of them.
Yeah, as with 4 spots yet to fill, and obviously specific needs to fill, and nothing is bigger than shooting. So obviously the wing position is something Indiana needs to attack hard as they have here, but I think that they had another guard as well. Obviously, talking to Caleb Love, but he's one of the few guards that I've heard them talking to or about. You have Gabe Cupps coming in, but he's a freshman, so you can only expect so much from a freshman. Whether he can perform above that, great, but don't put unnecessary expectations on a kid like that. But we don't know what they're going to end up with, and but they sure seem to be in on a lot. They're getting visits, they're getting attention from these people. So at the end of the day, it would sure seem like they're going to end up in good position.
Yeah, then you mentioned about the guards. I would expect Indiana to add at least one more guard. I think they have a lot of faith in the progression of CJ Gunn next year. You also you have the potential returns of you have the return of Trey Galloway. You have the the likely return of Xavier Johnson, and then you throw in Gabe Cupps, who he's going to be one of the first guards off the bench, I would assume, and then you also have Ja'Kai Newton, who could be ready to play right away. He's got the body, he's built, he's got that, that high major Division I look. And he's just a great player. He's a smart player, elite scorer. So you're going to look at those guys. As far as the transfer portal, they're going to probably add one more guard. And then in the wings, they're still, hitting that pretty hard. They realize that they need more shooting. It doesn't look like Jamison Battle is going to be the guy that they're going to go after. It looks like he's trending towards Ohio State. But there's a lot more wings out there, a lot more sharpshooters that they're looking at. So Indiana's definitely got the needs. They know what they need to fill, which is great. And as an Indiana fan, you should like that they're attacking the portal hard, unlike they did last year, which they really didn't need to last year. But, they realize that there's a lot of stuff that they got to fill. So It's the portal. I mean, it's going to take time. It's going to fill out and everything, but everyone's just got to be kind of patient and see where these kids land.
Yeah. Any new names that we haven't seen or heard much of that's popping up that we haven't talked about?
I wouldn't say any new name. I mean, granted,
they'll be coming. Don't worry.
Yeah,
stick
it seems
around.
like every day there's a new name. So I mean, if you follow verbal commits on Twitter, they every time someone enters the portal, they tweet it out, and there's obviously a new name, and then people are reporting, these are the kids, whoever the kid is, it's the list of schools or whatever. But as far as new names, I mean, we kind of mentioned a little bit of new names. I think the Oregon transfer was a newer name, and then you throw in the sharpshooter. You mentioned him earlier. I think he's from North Colorado or
Northern Colorado, I believe.
Yeah. So he's a newer
Is that
guy.
Dalton Connect? Is that Dalton Connect?
Yes, that's him. So yeah, I mean, that's another wing guy that, Indiana, obviously he's a sharpshooter. He shot it well from behind the arc last year. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be new names every day. Indiana, like you said, has got 4 roster spots to fill. So until they fill all those up, Indiana's going to be pretty aggressive in the transfer portal.
Yeah, and they're going to have to get them because, like I said, you cannot count on, and this has nothing to do with Gabe Cupps, but you can't count on a guy coming in out of high school after we know that the level play gets to, in whether it's in conference or in NCAA tournament. That's a different level, man. And it takes a special freshman to be able to navigate that and that level of play. The Big Ten teams, you mentioned Ohio State. I know Maryland is doing very well in talking to portal guys as well. Those 2 different teams there, Maryland was just off from being really good this year. They were a tournament team. They could win at home, could not win on the road. Ohio State, however, had just a horrific season with one of the top freshmen in the country, in Bryce Sensabaugh. But they have good recruits coming in, and if they can hit the portal, man, their fortunes can change like that. And so they can be a team that changes overnight. So we don't know who's going to be doing what in the Big Ten. We do know that Purdue is going to be basically the same team, and Michigan, I don't know what the hell they're going to have.
Yeah, I mean, Big Ten has got a lot more questions than answers for sure after the season. You got a lot of guys that transferred out of the Big Ten. Obviously you said Purdue's going to be, they're pretty much going to be the same team. I would expect Zach Edey to obviously come back and everything. And you've got the freshmen, the incoming sophomore guards, I guess, but they've also got a good freshman class coming in with Miles Colvin from Indiana. Those guys. So, Indiana, I don't know. Obviously, they're an incomplete team right now. I don't know exactly where they would fit, as far as projections in the Big Ten coming into the next season.
Don't even think about it. No more projections, man. No more projections.
I don't think fans want to hear projections anymore. But
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear projections, and I'm damn sure not making any until we're, like I keep saying, till we're deep into the season. You just. There's no way to know anymore.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Maryland, I really like what Coach Willard's done with them. They've got a great, freshman class coming in. And like you said, they have hit the transfer portal pretty hard. So they're definitely a team to watch out for next year. And Ohio State, I think, will be a lot better than what they were this year. They had some injury issues, and especially if they can get someone like Jameson Battle, that's going to take them to the next level. Obviously, they won't have Sensabaugh next year. I mean, he'll be going to the NBA, but they've got a good team, and I think that was just a rare down year for Chris Holtmann in Ohio State. So Big Ten's chaotic right now, and, it probably won't be, the Big Ten teams won't settle in until probably next month at the earliest. So we'll just see how it shapes out. But I know you look at Mike Woodson, he's really trying to not – how should I say this? He's really trying to build a team that's both competitive in the Big Ten, but can also make a deep run in the NCAA tournament. That's what he's trying to do. His first 2 years, he just hasn't had that balance yet. So that's what he's trying to do. He realizes that, the Big Ten teams struggle in the NCAA tournament, and he's got to try to get out of that rhythm, that Big Ten rhythm that, that they show in the NCAA tournament.
And, everyone says that because they have not won a national title since 2000, was it 2000 or 2001?
Like
But
2000.
yeah, Michigan State. But the Big Ten didn't used to have any problems winning in the NCAA tournament. What? I don't know that something has changed that much because they still have good teams. This year they didn't have any great teams for certain, but that's the thing. They just haven't had great teams here of late. I don't think some good ones, but not great. And that's just the difference to me is just having great players.
Yeah, obviously they've had great players in the past, but I wish I had answers for this, but for whatever reason, the Big Ten just wants to stick to their style. They want to stick to that physicality. They want to beat each other up and everything. They want to stick to the conference style. But you get schools that are from the Big 12, the SEC, that are a lot more athletic. And the game of basketball, I feel like it's changed in the past few years and everything like that. You see a lot more athleticism in teams, and teams with more athleticism are going to make deeper runs. They're going to teams with more shooting are going to make deeper runs. Big Ten just hasn't adjusted yet to that style, and I think Mike Woodson, from watching afar for all those years, realizes that. Obviously, when you got a guy like Trace Jackson Davis, you're going to play through him and everything. But I think deep down, Mike Woodson's a little bit excited to finally start getting his type of style that he wants in Indiana. He wants more wings, he wants more guards, and he wants highly athletic forwards and post players and everything, but he wants to play through the guards and he wants to play through the wings. So if he can start getting his guys in, getting those positions filled, I think Indiana can finally figure it out. And then I think they could be a team that could start making deeper runs in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think that Mike Woodson's tired of getting beat 3-2, basically.
Yep.
Because you look at some of the great games, the big wins, they sweep Purdue, the Big Ten champions, but yet they get drilled by Iowa at home. They give up, they lose, they get swept by Iowa. Actually, they get swept by Northwestern. Two teams that just outshot Indiana, basically, and to be truthful, they should have won probably 3 out of those 4 games, a minimum between those, just in those 4 alone, but they didn't, and that's what has to change. And so it's going to be, it'll be exciting to see next year what they get in, but we don't have to wait long. We'll have an idea of what they'll have, like you said, in probably a month or so. I'd say that I don't know if they'll have all 4 slots filled in a month, but they'll be a lot further along than they are now.
Yeah, for sure. It just comes down to being patient, with any team right now. As these kids, they really want to make a good decision. And you also throw in the NIL situation, they got to do some negotiating themselves. They got to figure out, what's going to offer the best money, what school, what's going to offer the most playing time. And I think that's, those are the 2 main factors. Kids want, great NIL deal, and they want playing time. So it's going to be a process, but I would expect about a month or so you'll start seeing what this Indiana team is going to look like coming into the next season.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, brother. Go out and have yourself a great day and a good weekend.
Okay. Later, guys.
Thank you, Kyler Staley, joining us here. And don't forget those NIL deals. I think that they are slowing down. Well, I know that they do. They slow down this process because you can look at the schools and make your decisions, and you've done that a lot already before. You visited and all of that, but the NIL, having to find out, well, what can I get from this place? What can I get from that place? That's going to take the research and all of that. So, hey, we got more coming up. Got to take a quick break. Jeff Schroeder joins us later. We'll talk about the Masters, but we'll be back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether it's at
Tiger Woods just dumped 2 bags of practice range balls out, Guarantee you every one of those is a Pro V1, which is the most expensive golf ball there is. Yep, it's here, man. I'm hungry.
Excuse me.
The truth.
Send food, right? Isn't that what he says?
That's right. Send money and send food. Hey, Chris Denari.
What's up?
Mr. Denari?
Hello there, guys.
Chris Denari.
Got a little Masters on.
Yep, me too.
How are the pups doing?
Oh, they're doing good. They're ready to, once I get off, I'll take them on their morning jaunt. We'll go to Starbucks, get a little pup cup action. Yeah, I should show you this picture. My wife was gone. She was down in Florida for about 10 days. And so it was just me and the dogs last week. And then we had a house sitter coming for a day, just while my wife was gone and I was gone. And I was packing my bag last week to go to Cleveland, and you could tell how sad they were. They were just laying on the bed next to the suitcases like, where are you going?
That's good stuff.
Now they're happy. One more trip. That's it.
Oh, that's I didn't think y'all had any more trips left.
2 games. Home game tomorrow, and then we go to New York Saturday for a Sunday afternoon game.
Well, that's not a bad way to end it. Little trip to New York.
No, not bad. 1 o'clock game. We'll be home early.
Indiana plays in MSG next year.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, and that's what do they call it?
The Empire Classic is what they call it.
Which I don't know why they're making such a big deal out of this again. This was announced. I'm like, I was on another radio program in the morning yesterday, and they were making like such a big deal out of this thing. And I was like, it caught me so off guard because I'm like, why are they talking about this?
Yeah.
They kept asking me about it. I'm like, yeah, so they're going. I'm like, we knew this like months ago.
Right.
All right, here we go, guys.
Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. It's April 6th. Appreciate you being with us. Just like we appreciate Chris Denari joining us, the voice of the Pacers. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Masters Thursday.
It certainly is.
I've got
it on as well.
Yeah, I've got ESPN Plus on right now. I'm watching holes 4, 5, and 6. And I was telling you, I'm going to head out to Starbucks, get a coffee, get my dogs a pup cup. And I think I'm going to settle in the basement for a few hours on the big screen and watch a little golf.
Could be a nap. Could be a nap involved there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to bet.
Oh, there's no question about that. It's the great thing about the great thing about golf on television. I love, you and I are golfers. We love golf, but it is something that, if you fall asleep for, half hour, 45 minutes, not a bad
you're not
thing.
Gonna miss much, and you're not going to miss much.
No, and in this day and age, you can rewind. If you miss it, you can always see it.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I'm just watching Tiger on the practice green. I was laughing because I'm like, he just dumped out 2 big old bags of practice balls. I'm like, every one of those is a Pro V1, brand new, never been touched, and those are just for range balls.
Yeah.
Craziness.
Yeah.
Speaking of the season's coming to an end for you guys, you mentioned you've got one more trip to get in the books up to New York, home game before that.
Yeah.
So, but not a bad spot to end the season up in New York. A little visit, a little Sunday afternoon matinee.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, it's, I think all in all, I mean, you're not going to make the playoffs. You're not in the play-in, but I still think this team exceeded expectations this year, Jim. I mean, most people picked them to win 22, 23 games, and they were really headed for a playoff position the last time they were at Madison Square Garden. It was the first half of the season had ended. The Pacers were 23-18. I think they were 5th or 6th in the East. And that's the night that Tyrese Halliburton got hurt, and he would miss the next 10 games. The Pacers went 1-9, and their fortunes really changed. And but I think what this last few weeks has given, with Turner being out and Halliburton being out, it's really given the young guys a chance to play a lot and get experience, especially against a lot of playoff teams. If you look over the last, week plus, I mean, they've played Milwaukee, they've played Cleveland, they played Dallas, even though Dallas is on the outside right now. I mean, you've got 2 perennial all-stars in Doncic and Irving. So I think it's been really good for guys like Andrew Nembhard and Benedict Mathurin, 2 rookies that are in the NBA for the first time. And now they're playing every night against frontline players. So I think all in all, it's been a successful season. The fan base, I think, has been rejuvenated. They love what they see. Sure, they want to see more wins and they want to see a team go to the playoffs. That's the ultimate goal. But I think, patience is a virtue. And I'm really looking forward to next year because they have a lot of cap space. They've got 3 first-round picks. I don't think they'll have all those rookies come in. I think they can use a couple of those picks, one of those picks for a trade, bring in another talented veteran. I'm really looking forward to the offseason to see what this team can do to make itself better for next year.
Yeah, Indiana, of course, has a couple of players that have declared for the draft in Jalen Hood-Schifino and as well as Trace Jackson Davis. Of course, we'll see where they end up, but Jalen Hood-Schifino projected as a very potential lottery pick. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up going to play. He played very well this year for Indiana. They could certainly use him next year, but he won't be there. His services will be gone.
Yeah, I think he's a really talented player. I mean, his draft stock really rose as the season progressed. He's got a big, strong body. He's on, Jim, you look at him, it's sort of like Benedict Mathurin. Benedict Mathurin came in with an NBA body, and I think Jalen Hood-Schifino as well. And I'm intrigued by Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, maybe 2 years ago, I was thinking, I don't know how this guy's going to fit in the NBA. But the guy, he's got a strong motor. He's a good rebounder. He blocks shots. There's always a place for that. So those are 2 talented players. And unfortunately for IU fans, they're going to lose because they were so good this year. Trace for his entire Indiana career. But, you see these guys make the next step. We'll see Jaden Ivey tomorrow night. We saw him very early in the season. In fact, it was the first weekend of the season the Pacers saw him. And then the last time the Pacers and the Pistons played, he was out with COVID illness. So, there's another guy that we saw in the state of Indiana for a few years that played at a high level at Purdue, and now he's had a really good rookie season. So I think good expectations both for Hood-Schifino and Trace Jackson Davis as they make the next move to the NBA.
Yeah, I think one of the first things any team that gets Trace Jackson Davis is that they're going to force him to shoot the ball outside of 5 feet. I was watching during the NCAA tournament, during some of their pregame warmups. He was shooting from behind the arc, as part of the team, how they would move. And I'm like, it's not that he can't shoot, but he won't shoot. But that's the first thing that an NBA team is going to do is say, dude, you have to shoot the ball. So we're going to teach you, if it's confidence, whatever it is, that's the first thing they're going to work on.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, at the NBA level, I mean, it's the next step. You don't have classes. Your job is to do what you do, right? And they'll spend a lot of time on that and make sure he has the confidence to do that. I've said this, fans may remember a name, Brandon Clark, who played at Gonzaga, and he's in Memphis. He's a guy that has a very weird looking outside shot. He does not shoot outside of the lane, but he's hugely effective, Jim. He plays with Ja Morant. He plays with Desmond Bane. He plays with Luke Kennard now. Now, unfortunately, he's out with an injury, but he's a guy that just patrols the lane and has, offensive rebound, putbacks, all that. He's a guy that's averaged 10 to 12 points per game. So there is a place for you if you aren't, a perimeter shooter. Now, it's helpful that you have that in your bag, but I still think that having watched Trace over the last couple of years and just watched his motor and his ability to rebound and his ability to block shots. Look at a guy like the Pacers played last night in Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson shoots 51% from the free throw line, has one of the most awkward looking outside shots you'll ever see, but he gets all of his baskets in the paint. He averages a double-double. So, with the right team and the right personnel, somebody like that does not have an outside shot, I still think can exist in the NBA.
Yeah, you look at Jalen Hood-Schifino, and while he's not someone you think of in the same regard as Trace in that regard, but he's made his bones with his mid-range jump shot.
Yeah.
Not that he can't shoot behind the arc. He has had plenty of success there, but he really just drove teams insane. I'd have to go back and look how many of his 35 points against Purdue were 2-point shots. Yeah. A lot of them. So he uses that to great skill. And it's kind of something that's gone away from a lot of people. It's either dunking or 3-point shooting. And man, that mid-range jumper is deadly if you have it.
Yeah, there are a lot of talented players in the NBA that rely on the mid-range jumper. I think of DeMar DeRozan currently. If you think back in the course of the NBA in recent history, Dwayne Wade, I thought, was one of the best mid-range jump shooters in the NBA. If you got him out to the 3-point arc, that's where he struggled a little bit. But he made his bones, he made his money in that 15 to 18 foot range. And so there are opportunities to do that. And I agree with you, Jim. If you're a good mid-range scorer, somebody like a DeMar DeRozan, you can average 20 points a game in the NBA.
Zach Edey, I don't see him going pro this year, although he's one of those unique cases. He's from Canada, so the NIL deal does not affect him. I don't think he can collect NIL since he is a foreign student. So he has another year of eligibility. I expect him to come back. I didn't expect him to go to the NBA, and I still don't. And I don't think that he's been mentioned very highly on draft boards. I don't know if it's part because they don't expect him to go, but he's obviously a different type of player. He's 7'4", and it's not how the NBA is played now, but he's 7'4", and 7'4" still is 7'4".
Yeah, 7'4", there's a place for you. You may not be a starter. You might be a role player. You might be a bench player, but there's some type of opportunity for you. He's a much different 7'4" or 7'5" than Victor Wembanyama. I saw the clip of him the other night, missing a 3-point shot, following the rebound off the rim and dunking it. That's a guy that has incredible ball skills, incredible ball handling, can shoot it. That's a different type of player at 7'5" than Zach Edey. So I think it'll be really interesting to see, what happens. Now I'll probably turn my attention clearly next week to the play-in tournament, to the playoffs, but I'll also start to look more at who's coming into the draft, who could be available in those top, 5, 6, 7 picks where we think the Pacers will have a first-round pick unless they get lucky and get in the top 3. And then, look into the 20s. There have been plenty of players over the years that had been picked in the 20s and have had highly successful NBA careers. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for the Pacers to improve, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for a lot of these college players to come into the NBA and contribute right away.
There are 3 different completely types of big men that were in the NBA or in the Big Ten this year. Zach Edey, we just talked about, Trace Jackson-Davis, and then Hunter Dickinson. These are all 3 completely different types of big men. 2 of them are probably going to come back next year, but Hunter Dickinson is just young. I think is he still too young to even go into the draft? I think
he's in the portal though, right? Didn't I see where he's in?
He's in the portal. Yeah, he's definitely in the portal. So, but
what was interesting? What was interesting to me, Jim, talking about the portal, was I saw something on Twitter Tuesday morning from the San Diego State UConn game that said you would be surprised, but one of the players that played last night in the national championship game, and I think they said significant minutes, is going to end up in the transfer portal. And that was amazing to me that, if you're that good of a player and you've played for the national championship with your team, you would think if you were coming back to college basketball, in my opinion, you would want to play with your team that just went to the national championship game. But it sounds like possibly one of those players may be in the transfer portal.
Could be a nice, sweet NIL deal on the other side of that rainbow, because it can't be minutes, obviously, if it's a significant player. Then you look at a team like Florida Atlantic, hopefully, who will be bringing virtually all of their team back, I think, including Dusty May, who that's a great end to that story. Yes. You're someone who knows Dusty very well. But to see him to stay at Florida Atlantic, that's going to be great. Actually, he's going on the show tomorrow, so looking forward to talking to him
awesome.
again.
Yeah,
but he's going to have his team back, and the coach is going to be back. That's a great story.
Yeah, especially at that mid-major level, they're making the move to the American Athletic Conference, so they're going up a conference. I mean, Florida Atlantic. Down in Boca Raton, awesome to see him stay there. Hopefully, as you said, most of those players will stay there. I'm sure there's a lot of poaching going on when you get to that level, and other schools are going to try to entice those players to go to their school. But, if those guys come back with that coaching staff, they have a chance to make another run. I mean, who would have thought back in 2010 that Butler would have made it to the national championship game? And then who would have thought a year later they would make a similar run? That's what Florida Atlantic hopes that they can do. And, I think back to their football program, Jim. Lane Kiffin was the coach at Florida Atlantic.
Back in the
day. So
Howard Schnellerberger, baby.
So this is a school that really has played athletics at a high level. It may only have a gym that seats 25 or 2,600, but it is a school. And in Boca Raton, I would think you can recruit there. Hats off to Dusty May and what he's been able to do at FAU.
Absolutely. What's up next for you, man?
Well, home game tomorrow. It is fan appreciation night, and I just want to tip my hat to the fans all year. They have been outstanding. Last Friday, the game against Oklahoma City, when the Pacers rallied in the fourth quarter, Jim, it felt like a playoff game. I mean, for a team that's not going to the postseason, was almost sold out. Fans were on their feet. Last night was a really good crowd. I expect that to be the case tomorrow. And then Sunday we'll end the season against the Knicks. And then I turn into a landscaper. I've got plenty of opportunity to do a lot of work around the house. I'm looking forward to that, getting outside. And hopefully, I'll hit the little white golf ball a little bit more than I did last year. And also spending time with my grandson, who's now 16 months and walking all over the place. And then we've got another grandson on the way with our oldest son in July. So it's going to be a great summer. I'm going to enjoy it. And then, again, look forward to next year will be my 18th year as the TV voice of the Pacers. So very honored and thrilled that I'm able to do that each and every year.
Well, we're thrilled and honored to have you with us, man, and congratulations on that and getting through another season. And yeah, you're right. Indy sports fans, period. Doesn't matter if you're talking about the Indianapolis 500, which you know very well from working at Turn 4 each year, the Colts, which they have just adopted from day one in 1984, the Pacers, going back all the way back to when they were in the ABA. Indy sports fans talk about IU. I mean, or Purdue or Valpo or Butler. It's just they're great sports fans.
They are. They're very loyal and love being around them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That month of May, my seat in Turn 4 is not too far away. So yeah, a lot going on, but definitely I'm going to enjoy the Masters here for a couple of days. And then next week I'll do some yard work. I'll enjoy some downtime, but look forward to visiting with you each week.
Looking forward to it. Go enjoy the Masters and have a great day, my friend.
All right. Thank you.
Chris Denari joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, as he does each and every Thursday. Thankfully to us, we've got more coming up. We're going to finish up with Jeff Schroeder from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, talk about a little Masters action. But before we come back, right after this,
we'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're
Hey, make sure Jeff knows it's time for him. I did send him an email and a message and everything, but just make sure he's aware. So I know he's your Golf Club at Eagle Point guy. Excuse me. Do what?
You said you sent the link?
Yeah. Just make sure it's at his email. I guess it's where he was expecting it. It's where I usually send them to, unless they requested to be their phone.
You're up next.
Are you calling him?
Yeah.
Oh.
Patrick Reed's already on the course. Huh.
If he doesn't show, you can do 10-10 tomorrow if he wants to.
You're up. Let's see. What's the Golf Club at Eagle Point phone number? Damn. Golf Club at Eagle Point Clubhouse.
You got 45 seconds.
That's not enough time.
I know, right?
Thank you for calling the Golf Club at Eagle Point. Now featuring a restaurant.
Well, I guess we'll figure it out.
Oh, I'm just trying to get to the stupid thing.
We got 10 seconds. What do you want me to do? We gotta come back.
Yeah, we'll just.
Okay.
You're up.
Sports Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Thursday, beginning of Masters Day. And John, just go ahead and text that to Mr. Jeff. Get Jeff Schroeder on.
Send me that phone number. Send me that phone number. Then.
Oh, yeah, we got to do that. Welcome back. We won't be playing any golf around here today. Well, yesterday it rained and rained and rained all day. So it is definitely a soggy one out there. I think they are expecting rain later today in Augusta. In Augusta, same, both works because it is in Augusta, Georgia, and it's at Augusta National. So you could actually say both of those. There are several that are already out on the course. There are some people that don't care. Some people want to hear just about basketball, and well, we could talk about it all day, but we could just sit here and go round and round right now because until some decisions start getting made, this is portal shopping. I hate to say shopping, but kind of what it is. I mean, portal shopping. I still wonder if it's harder than regular recruiting because you're in a specific need. Although you know more about what these players can do, but you're still in a direct specific need, and you have to fill that. You can't, you miss it, you're screwed. That's a position that's screwed. Pete pointing out early on, 8 are tied at 1 under, including Mr. Stallings, Kisner, Louis Oosthuizen, Mitchell, Patrick Reed, one of those. Of course, they barely into this. Weirs, even. But looking forward to doing exactly what Chris Denari is going to do a little bit of, trying to take an hour or two and not think about recruiting, even though that's what everybody wants to talk about. What are your plans for this weekend? Now we get closer. Let's see. We're in mid-April. We do have May coming up. You've got the Kentucky Derby that comes up at the start of May and the Indianapolis 500 at the end of May. Then AAU season is around. It's nonstop. So we've got the portal action that will be going on for the next several weeks. That leads in to the Kentucky Derby, which leads into the Indianapolis 500. Then AAU season. Then football season. So it's a year-round endeavor. Pete says that Wisconsin just landed Wyoming guard Noah Reynolds out of the portal. Of course, there were the dude Indiana was looking at early on from Wyoming. I forget his name. Or there's too many. Need a scorecard, which I have a couple of those. But where did I just see Hunter Dickinson too? Down to Kansas and Georgetown, Maryland, and Villanova allegedly. I've seen the Maryland posted.
That's interesting because yesterday he had a Zoom call with Kentucky. I guess that didn't go too well with Mr. John Calipari.
Yeah, it would be funny to imagine them out of the running that fast. But Kansas makes obvious sense. You go there, you win. Georgetown makes zero sense because they are far away from winning. Just they're having to name a new coach. Maryland, there's an up-and-comer right there. Now, does he want to get out of the Big Ten? Maybe. But Maryland's kind of a different, that's Kevin Willard who coached under Rick Pitino. They're going to be an East Coast style team. I don't doubt that. I mean, that's where they are. They're really an ACC team, but I think that their style is going to really be one that others go to. Rick Pitino at St. John's. That's going to be interesting next year. Can't wait for that. Let's see. Pete says no to Maryland, please. Maryland getting rich. I'm telling Maryland is the team you better look out for. They have great recruits coming in, period. They already had good recruiting classes coming in, and they are doing well in the portal. They know who they are. They already knew who they were as an identity offensively. And Kevin Willard just has to get his team how to play some defense. And they'll start winning games on the road. Or a little older. That's the trick. Hunter was recruited out of high school by Ed Cooley, who is now coaching at Georgetown. Yeah, that's cool and all, but if you want to win, Georgetown is not going to be winning in the next year, which I would imagine Hunter Dickinson only has a year of playing college left, I would think. Here's a stat for you. The reason I say that, the guys that do not go to the NBA within their first or second season, odds are not that great. Right now, it depends on which site you look at, but this is a couple days old now, so I don't know if it's still the exact same, but the top 21 draft positions in the upcoming NBA draft were held by college freshmen or their equivalent, if foreign. But the top 21 spots were all by youngsters, not 3-year guys, not 4-year guys. Because if you're in college after 4 years, you're not that good. That sounds harsh, but it's the truth of the matter. Top 21 spots. It's about potential. Potential. You hear us talk about that a lot. Some of it's just a guessing game. They're not going to say it's a guessing game, but if you wonder why this player this player that, just look at right now the transfer portal. Some of these guys you've never heard of that went to teams. They're like, wow, they were playing there and they're coming to this school. It is never the same on how this player develops versus this player. It's not the same on how this player flourishes versus another under the same coach in the same system. Things just change quickly as you grow, as the growth. So the change is just awesome, I think. It really is. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to like not seeing Duke in the Final Four every damn year. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of that. Not because I hate Duke. I don't hate Duke. I don't care. I just like seeing the difference, the unknowing, the surprise. Now, you don't want a championship game like we had this year, and where UConn just ended up kicking the snot out of San Diego State. But would that have happened with Florida Atlantic, or would it have happened with Miami, or would it have happened with whomever they played? Because UConn was one of only 6 teams to ever win every tournament game by 10 points or more. So it's not like they were bad. Steve says he thinks the mix of player types UConn has would be a good fit, good for IU to target. Yeah, they had the differences. You've got great underneath play in Sudogo. You've got great guard play. They had shooting, and they played defense. There's, and this is another discussion. I do not consider UConn a blue blood. Look up what the word blue blood means in the dictionary. It's not about how many championships you've won. Blue blood is more about historical. Again, give this kind of every day for a few weeks, but Indiana started winning their national championships and going to Final Fours in the 40s. Kansas in the 40s, Kentucky in the 50s. It's for decades after decades. That's what blue blood means. Doesn't mean that their accomplishment is any less incredible. It's kind of more incredible. It just doesn't show the longevity of it is all. That's the difference. They're new blood. There's not many new bloods. Duke is kind of in between, to be honest with you. Their first national title didn't come till 91. So not that it matters. It's all just for discussion. And the thing about UConn is we keep talking about they've done it with 3 different damn coaches and 3 different styles. It's mind-boggling. Crazy. Looking forward to tomorrow. We'll talk more about we'll talk about the Masters. We didn't really talk about it much today. Of course, today's the opening day. The guys just getting out their first round in today. Tiger, I don't even know when he tees off. Had it up there earlier.
I believe I got a notification that he was about to tee off right now.
I was going to say he probably is about to get out just because he just was on the practice
Does
team.
Tiger Woods have enough in him to win any more major championships?
Not on the regular tour. I don't think he can overcome the injuries. That's a lot, man. That's a lot. That level of play is incredible. You have to have everything rolling at once. Your physical shape, your mental shape, your game, your swing, luck, everything has to all be coming together to win majors. It's just like any sport. That's the elite of the elite. And it takes everything you have from a mental capacity. Obviously there's a physical part of getting the job done, but at that level, I think it comes down to a lot of the mental. It's the mental part of the game. It's what gets virtually all of us. Fred asking if Tiger's playing with Titleist balls. I have no idea. I have no idea what brand he uses. Pete says Woods 100% does with golf skills still, but physically, no. Unless the PGA allows a cart for him, and that is not going to happen. Even though he's Tiger Woods, I don't see that happening. Now, he might make the cut. Bridgestone, man. Huh. I think he makes the cut.
Bridgestone was a tire company.
Well, they are, but the inside of golf balls are made out of rubber.
Oh, interesting.
If you look on the bottom of some shoes, you'll see treads, and some of them say Goodyear, some say Continental. I have a pair of shoes that have Continental soles on them.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Then Skechers does that with Goodyear, I think. It's nuts. Pete pointing out that Tiger made the cut last year, so we'll find out what he does tomorrow, or what he does today, rather. And, of course, the cut doesn't happen until after tomorrow's round. We'll see. How he does. Yeah, there's a Bridgestone commercial for him right now, as I was watching. I will say that I was playing the other day, and I hit a different club. Oh, my God. It was someone else's, brand new one. It was crazy, the difference. It really was. See the ugly grouper up there, man. I'm ready to have some catfish bites from the ugly grouper. I can't wait to get down this summer and maybe visit the grouper, see some of you guys as well. But looking forward to that. Looking forward to being back tomorrow. Alec Lasley will join us. Big time. Another big get with Dusty May joining us from the Florida Atlantic Owls, of course, fresh off of their performance in the Final Four. Let's see. Who else we got tomorrow, John Boy?
Zach Osterman will be with us.
Zach, of course, as well. So looking forward to that. It has been another fun day with you guys. as we are just navigating the portal right now as the Masters gets underway and football spring practice happening a little bit. Indiana doesn't know who their quarterback is. Shocker there. But we'll see how that ends up. Trace Jackson Davis's brother, Taven Jackson. I don't know if I'd say he's the leading candidate. Very well could be.
1 minute.
We'll find out. We'll find out more. But we're back tomorrow to do this all again. Big thank you to everyone, like I said, Matt Taylor, Kyler Staley, Chris Denari, and John, the producer. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we don't have a reason to be here. But we're back tomorrow to do it again, and we appreciate you greatly. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat